She also had a hired hand by the name of Ray Lamphere, who just kind of helped her out around the farm. She started her killings in 1884 when she was just 24 years old. Now here in part 2, the year is now 1908, and Belle Gunness is now 48 years old. And that's kind of where this part begins. So, not unique in any way, Belle found the man by the name of Andrew Helgelein and promised him marriage in exchange for him coming to her farm with a bunch of money, and in letters that they exchanged back and forth, she ordered Andrew not to tell anyone where he was going. She wanted everything to be a secret. And any man who's kind of blinded by love doesn't really think twice when someone says, keep it a secret and bring your money. Don't tell anyone where you are. And a lot of other people, as we know now, had fallen victim to this same trap. This letter exchange between Andrew and Belle also gives us insight as to how Belle has gotten away with this for 24 years. She pretty much just preys on gullible men who don't think twice when asked to bring money in secret. But one important difference between Andrew and the other victims of Belle Gunness is that Andrew had a nosy brother by the name of Ashley, who was confused as to why Andrew hadn't reached out in a really long time. This was really out of character for Andrew, and Ashley started snooping around when he found these letters between Andrew and Belle. And these letters, Ashley quickly found out that something was wrong, considering this random woman is specifically asking Andrew for money and complete privacy as he comes to her farm. And as a brother who's not blinded by the love for Belle, Ashley can quickly put two and two together and understand that something might be wrong. is still on